All right. I think I got it to work. Still the ongoing test of Sprint versus Verizon. Might have to go back to Verizon. So, ego hunting, continuing series here of the your uploads when you do. Usually when you're in the shower or something, right? One thing a teacher does, it doesn't matter if they're a fully realized nirvikalpa samadhi teacher or not, or an avatar like Krishna or so forth. There are real teachers. It has to do with the heart intention, and there's an incisive jnana discriminator. That word is so dangerous to use nowadays that you can't, to say discriminator, I gotta wrap my thing around this pole for my link. But the word discriminate means to discern, to be able to tell this is real, this is not real, this is imagined, this is salt, this is sand. That test they used to do for the wise ant that the masters used to tell. They'd get a pile of perfectly salt and white sand that look exactly the same. Looks exactly the same, and it's, quote, spoiled if sand's gotten into the salt, right? Because they used to harvest it in the ocean. And they would take the pile of sand and salt that look exactly the same, and they would put the pile in front of a line of ants. Okay, I got that wrong. The sugar and the sand. The sugar and the sand. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
That's Miley.
What's his name?
Miley, it's a girl.
Miley.
She's the mama.
Oh.
Come on, Miles.
Oh.
She wants to visit with everybody. Come on, Miles, let's go this way. We're walking a little. Let's go. It's sugar and the sand. And then the master says, now look at the pile. Half is sugar, half is sand. And they look exactly the same. Well, the ants will pick just the sand and leave every sand molecule, every grain of sand will be left. The pile will, in a couple hours, be half size because the wise ant chose that which it wanted. That's discrimination. So in this world, the lesson there, of course, is notice this looks exactly the same, but it doesn't feel right to me, or it's not feeding me, it's not food for me, it's not for me as a soul. Could be for somebody else, but not for us. So a master will hunt for your ego. They will want to find, if you want them to, and like someone like Sri Yukteswar with Yogananda will say, anytime you don't want to do this, there's the door. No problems. It has to be by permission, by wanting help to undo the unreal. Now, by the way, when I say ego, the ego, of course, is in my opinion, but has its right place. We were created with ego. We're not meant to eradicate the ego. Come on, girl. So the natural ego allows for the experience of individuality. Perfect creation. What if we take a moment and go, oh, thank you, ego, for letting me have the experience of individual human. Come on, Miles. This is the couch. Come on, Miley. Let's go. So you make friends with the ego. When it got through to me, it takes 10,000 times for us to realize things, or review the lesson that many times. In Muktananda's book, Play of Consciousness, he says, don't fight the mind. He's talking about the mind, but I would suggest the same thing with the ego, right? Don't fight it, embrace it. Give it its rightful place, and it will cease to bother you. You can't change don't try to change a pig into a horse. Let it be a pig. Let it be a horse. Let it be a human. Let it be an ego. So ego hunting, if can be a fun game because it's like hide and seek. It hides really well, right? The ego hides really well. Watch Larry King and Jerry Seinfeld episode where Larry inadvertently, come on, Miley, let's go, we're going back. Where Larry King inadvertently says, so when the show was canceled, and Jerry's, pops in, canceled? Larry, we were never canceled. Like, that was a trigger for Jerry. Good. Now imagine a world where we could be honest with our triggers. Could you imagine that? Instead of all this pretending, false fronting, false presentation faces, trying to hold it together. Could you imagine if it was like, yeah, my ego's triggered right now. My ego is triggered right now. I'm triggered. Ooh, you got me. And then it was okay. Could you imagine if we taught our kids early on that finding where your ego is still hiding, or the dysfunctional parts of your ego is still hiding, is great, because that'll open up the pipelines and let the Tao flow through you better and better. Could you imagine if that? I love that. Like, I try to do that with me. When someone is attacking me or pointing shit out, I go, let me feel it. Let me feel it. And I go, yeah, I got some of that. Or I can't handle it right now. It's too much truth in my face. I can't handle it right now. So I'm gonna have to, I appreciate you pointing that out. Or I'll go, fuck you, fuck off, you're in my business. If my ego really doesn't want to look at it, right? But if you can get a little bit semi-conscious of that, go, yeah, I got triggered. You can replay the tapes, Monday morning quarterback, and go, okay, I got triggered. What was that about? Let me feel it. Katie Byron says it beautifully. She says when she finds a program in herself, she goes, ooh, I found one. Ooh, I found one. And she's kind of excited about it or interested. She's ego hunting in herself. Feel the difference? Anyway, so a master will do that for you, and he'll make you really, he or she will make you incredibly uncomfortable at times, because it's like squirming. Your fallen ego or the hidden parts, it will squirm like, oh, I don't want to look at that. Caught me again, like that stuff. A spiritual master will do ego confrontation, hunting your ego, with heart, with love, with timing. This is timely to look at. They're in touch, he or she, the master, is in touch with the Tao, with God's source, and will lovingly confront it in a timely manner that you're ready to look at it. It's still gonna hurt. It's still gonna feel like, oh my God, I don't wanna be here. I wanna run away, jump out of my skin, right? But at least they're doing it lovingly and appropriately or timely. The universe, the Tao, the world is a reflection of me. Without grace, i.e. the strict application of the reflective law, doesn't really care, in a sense, maybe. It's more just physics. Like if you act out, it'll just show you the mirror. And so the world is a harsh teacher. The school of hard knocks is sort of a unfiltered teaching back at you. So it's better, in my opinion, to find a master that has love and heart and grace to show you your deep stuff. And heal, I'm going to point your shit out, and then you can point my shit out. Most likely, most of those times, it turns into fuck you and fuck you too, because you trigger each other too soon, too fast. See, just showing the truth of it without heart, it's a tricky business. So ego hunting, you either get it through love and grace, or you get it through the Taoistic, mechanistic, automatic reflection from the universe. Yeah. And like I said in last video, observe mode. Watch yourself do it. Don't pretend. Don't put on the false fucking facade, the fakery, the frontery. You fronting, false presentation face. Oh, I gotta look good. That whole having to look good imagery, which started in Atlantis, where we went away from just being, and all of a sudden we decided this body type is more beautiful, and this is beautiful and that's ugly, the knowledge of good and evil, that whole thing. And we're replaying it now, of course, America right now, and Europe and all over the world, we're replaying, redoing image worship. And in image worship, fake tits, fake implants, body dysmorphia. Not that there isn't a right place for all those things, sure. And the right time, and there's a right thing for everything under heaven, right? But if you worship the image, if you put the image before the essence, you get feedback. Horrible feedback, like a guitar feedback, which you can enjoy for a while, but if you leave the guitar and the amp just feedbacking on each other, it'll rip the amp eventually. It'll short circuit, which is what happens to humans. Exactly what happens to humans. We worship the image for 70, 80, 90 short years, which is nothing. We used to live for tens of thousands of years. And then you rip your amp apart. You rip your chakras apart, or you can't stay intact with the body anymore. Intact. Tact doesn't save you. Image worship doesn't work. It's a lesson, it's a via negativa lesson, which means hard realizing this shit doesn't work. Running after money only first. Nothing wrong with money. I'm into now making some money so I can create some things I want to create. Masters have no problem with money. It's just a tool in the current situation on Earth. Dimension use money. The Pleiades, they don't have money. So ego hunting is an interesting process, but it requires someone has to admit, okay, I have a dysfunctional ego, or some issues, some stuff, and I would like help with it. Now, you don't need a guru teacher to do that. It can be helpful to have another person do it, but nowadays it's mostly just letting the universe do it. Nowadays it's the Tao doing it for you. And then you're in observer mode going, yeah, I'm triggered by that. And that gives you grist for the mill, fodder for the machine, for your clearing, rocket fuel for your awakening. Again, imagine if we taught kids early on, it's okay to have mistakes. It's okay to have your ego get triggered. It's okay to get to look stupid. It's okay to feel embarrassed. It's okay to get really angry. It's okay to feel terrified. It's okay to feel confused. It's okay to feel all of that. Instead of, no, I'm fine. We create adults that go, how you doing? I'm fine. Really? But your arm's like not working. How much suppressed energy is that to, shut you down completely? What kind of world would we have if we accepted, all right, we've got, like, someone came and fixed our pipe here yesterday, and from the water company. Now, imagine them, the water company, as the god of the water around here, saying, no, we're not going to look at the problem. It's not happening, in denial of it, of this huge leak that, is spreading into the street. That's what we're doing. We're leaking. Our spinal column is leaking our chakras into weird, demonic, side entity eddies. We're leaking life force all the time. And we go, no, I'm not. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. No, you're not. You're almost dead. Our system creates the walking dead, the living semi-dead. So, what if we got honest with it? I'm fucked up right now. The ego keeps going, the programming is, no, I don't want to address that you're being negative. I just want to continue hunting for my false image that's finally going to satisfy. It never will. So a prerequisite is that you go, okay, like Carlos Castaneda books, where Don Juan says, you know, the myopic, egoic mind will go, those books weren't real. Make some comment below. Well, you totally triggered, your ego triggering. Who the fuck cares if it's real or not? None of it's real. If the metaphor, story, allegory is teaching you, use it. And in there, Don Juan says, I have to find a way to stop you. To Carlos. Carlos thinks he's important. He's a forefront runner, avant-garde Latino professor in the early 60s at the UCLA, which is a big accomplishment, you know, at that time. And so thinks he's important. He knows a lot more than the stupid Native American Indian, Don Juan, right? He goes, you know. And so one way that, I got to tell this one. So Don Juan says, I have to find a way to stop you. Stop your runaway train of your ego, mind, personality. And later, after he's worked with Carlos for a couple of years, Don Juan helps crush his ego further because there's a remnant there, even though by now Carlos has said, instead of, I'm an anthropological professor studying these ridiculous Indians, or, you know, where I came from, these primitives, he realizes, holy shit, this is a man of power. This is a man of knowledge. And he's certainly been humbled that way. But then a few years later, one morning, Don Juan says to Carlos, are you and I equal? Carlos, are you and I equal? Just like that. And Don Juan catches Carlos's ego. Carlos is like, oh, he's thinking he's less than me because I'm the educated university professor. And he goes, of course, Don Juan, we equal. It's patronizing, right? Of course we're equal. I would never look down on you implying because you're a mestizo, primitive, from the villages, uneducated Indian. I would never look down on you, which they all do in South America now. You know, when you go to Sacred Valley or Peru or whatever, one of our shamans used to be an engineer in the white man's world, and he returned to the native ways, and all his friends are like, why are you doing that? It's backwards, regressive. Why are you going back to those superstitions, right? And then Carlos says, of course, Don Juan, we're equal. And then Don Juan turns and looks back at him and delivers an equal. No, we're not. I'm. So when Don Juan turns around and goes, no, we're not equal, Carlos. I'm a man of knowledge. And he doesn't say it with ego. He's just stating a fact. And he would never do that publicly usually, right? But it's appropriate to the situation. I'm a man of knowledge. And you're a floundering, but it's appropriate to the situation. I'm a man of knowledge, and you're a floundering human piece of excrement, or what, I don't know. He might have said piece of shit. Just to trigger him, to trigger that ego in him that's still holding on to self-importance, you know? Anyway, and that gets Carlos. But because Carlos has given permission to Don Juan to go ego hunting for me, you know, and the master has to, when they work with students like that, I know that's how God has to work with me, and the teachers I've worked with, they have to walk around my landmines of ego, thinking I know something, Western intellect, all that crapola, in order to go, otherwise I'd run away the first day. I want to run away anyway when they confront me, when I'm confronted with my stuff. I want to escape. We all do. Our ego's squirming, you know? Like you caught the child with a hand in the cookie jar, like, oh, and they're not willing to confess it, look at themselves, but sneakiness, you know? So ego hunting, you know? So ego hunting, yes. Now you can do it yourself. You don't need a master. Just start being your own master, observer inside yourself. Yeah, I'm triggered by that. I'm triggered by, wow. I still have that ego, yeah. I still have that fear, yeah. I want to look good. There's nothing wrong with looking good, getting in your teeth, you know, right? The material comes after the spiritual sense. Happy this morning, apologize for that, but that's part of it. Be real with it, you know. Much love. TobiasLars.com. If you're interested in the webcast on Sundays, you can join anytime. There's a backlog. of over 100 webcasts that you can purchase to look at. And this is how I make my money now. I'm not doing seminars or retreats anymore for a while. This is what keeps me going. Um, and you got over, I don't know, 250, 300 free videos here. You could watch that for 10 years if you don't have any money to pay. But if you want to help support what I do, I get a little bit more real. Since it's private webcasts, I can get a little bit more real with things. If you're interested, tobiaslars.com, click on the webcast. Theinnerbodyawakening.com, I recommend as a internal basic exercise to feel your energy. Like today, I'm fucking triggered, to be honest, with the fucking lawnmower, the fucking cicadas, the fucking jet engine going off on the airport. Like I can't find any peace. My dog pulling on me as we were walking. That's what I was feeling and watching. And instead of spiritually going, oh, I'm all cool with it, I'm not going to do that. I don't do that. I watch it and feel it. It's a jet engine. Very few jets land at the airport in Sedona, but that's one of them. So it shows up. And so I'll take some time to breathe it right now, to be with it, observing it, feeling it, healing it. Use your irritation, your triggering, as fuel for your awakening. And then I can go into acceptance of, okay, I wasn't totally centered or feeling loving delivering this message. Who cares? That's the spiritual image worship, that you have to look good all the time, you know? Perfect. And it gets better and better and better. All right, much love. Ole.